In this episode, we're talking about Apple versus Android or Samsung versus iPhone. So, hey everybody, my name is Jerome Robinson of the Robinson Group. Uh, this is my second episode, so please bear with me. I promise you it'll get better as time goes on. Um, there's going to be some quirks, but I got rid of shadow, right? Still got the green screen, and you can't see everything else going on. Studio lighting, people in the background, boom mic right there, boom, right? A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So, like I said, I'm getting better at this, so please bear with me. Uh, as you know, my whole thing is I'm always trying to not be biased, right? So, I want to bring you the very best that I can, and I want to make sure that it's not, I'm not, choosing one because of my personal opinion. I want you to be the judge. A lot of journalists today, unfortunately, are very biased. You're either Trump or you're Obama. You are Democrat or you're Republican, and it seems like the news is never in the middle or just bringing you facts. It's always biased in one way or another, unfortunately. And it's it's ridiculous. There's no news outlet, whether it be a newspaper, a blog, or a news channel in the United States that is non-biased. That includes the BBC and many others. Um, so yes, I do have my own personal favorites in everything I do, but my goal here is for me not to be biased and for you make the decision what's best for you and let you be the judge. Everybody's circumstances are different, so why I might like something versus another, my needs might be different than yours, right? So today I'm going to talk about two products, Android versus Apple, or a little more defined might be the Samsung Galaxy, right, versus Apple iPhone. So in front of me I have a bunch of different phones. I've been doing this testing for many years. I go back all the way, this is I think this is the original iPhone right here. Still have a couple of those. I've got everything from in different carriers, from T-Mobile to Sprint to AT&T to Verizon, Metro PCS, Boost, you name it. Samsung Galaxy, Asus, and this is an iPhone, right? So primary ones I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to rearrange these, right? So I'm going to put this Samsung over here. I'm going to put this iPhone over here, and I'm kind of going to move this stuff off the table, right? Because they're not so relevant. So let's get rid of this stuff, shall we? Okay. The reason why I'm going to keep this on the table, it is an Android phone. It's a much lesser expensive Android phone. I'm going to talk about it because what I'm talking about is Android versus iPhone. Unfortunately, the balance is skewed, right? Android is an unfair advantage because they have many different phones, right? Whereas iPhone only has its latest and greatest at the time, or whatever previous version it wants to allow you to use. Well, this is not about being fair, because it is unfair, right? More phones, more options, one company, one option, or whatever options it gives you at that time. But it's not about being fair. This is about you as the consumer choosing what's in your best interest, what is the best option for you at any given time. Okay, so I took the liberty and I made a lot of notes. Okay, So, but before we get into my notes, and I'll bring them out in just a minute, I want to just basically show you this phone. This is my son's phone. I bought it for him. It's an iPhone, and it's got a glass back, and it's cracked. It's not the iPhone X, although I have studied the iPhone X. But I haven't touched it, so I can't give you a real true comparison, right? But I have done a lot of studies on it. That is one of the phones that I'm planning on buying next. I'll probably have that in a month or two, and I'll give you a comparison on that. It's got glass in the front and it's got glass in the back. Major problem I have with this phone, because my son will tell you the reason why, Dad, they make glass in the back is to make it waterproof. Now, I've known waterproof phones that don't have glass in the back. You drop this phone just as my son did, and he cracked the back. Well, it's a very costly repair, and I think it's very in poor taste on Apple's part to make a back that's glass. There's no point, in my opinion, that I've noticed.
Here you're looking at a good iPhone, clean, right, until it breaks, and not pretty when it breaks right there. And then I have it zoomed up in the next picture so you can see it cracked on the back glass portion of it. Again, I think it's a poor design on Apple's part here.
I'm going to go with here the Galaxy, Samsung Galaxy. And one of the things I don't like about the Samsung Galaxy, it too can crack in the back. Looks like I cracked it a little bit in the back. You can't really see it right from here, but you'll get
here
closer.
you have a clean, good-looking Samsung Galaxy S9, right? But hold on. Here's a cracked one, and let me tell you, they crack on the back just like they crack on the front, and another poor design by Samsung along with Apple.
So, even though it's some sort of plastic glass composite, I'm not really sure. It certainly feels plastic to me. It cracked nonetheless. And it's got a curvature design, which I do not like. The front, I do not like the design. It has really that cool look appeal, which a lot of people like. It's probably what helped propel them to be a big seller. But the problem is it's very difficult to find screen protectors for it. And because of the curvature, they don't really stick too well, and they come apart over time. Another thing I don't like about the curved part of the Samsung Galaxy is that the edges, if you're using a browser, which I do often, or want to press some buttons, or I'm trying to get to the side, a lot of times you have to get to the side of the phone, and you can't really do that too easy with the curvature of this phone. You have to it's kind of like a pain in the butt, you know. And then if you have a case, it's even worse, right? Because the cases aren't really designed for that curvature. So again, this is a costly repair as well if you're looking to fix it. I've compared the parts of it, and this, believe it or not, the Samsung is just a tidbit more expensive than the iPhone, depending on what you're looking to replace on the phone. The cost of actually doing the repair, well, you could either do it yourself, which the option is free, or you can hire someone to do it. It's not enough to make a difference, $20 or $30 in a part. We're talking about the front glass is the same price, depending, either phone if you're replacing just the glass. But if you're replacing the glass and what's behind the glass, which breaks as well, that, my friend, makes the Samsung a little more expensive, but still not necessarily a reason not to buy the phone. I wanted to talk about I have this here, an Asus phone, right? So it's the Asus A0006. I think I said that right. There's how many zeros? Let me take a good look here. Sorry, A006. Too many zeros there. I'm a cheap guy, so I like to save money. I also like the fact that the Asus is not curved. I bought 4 of these phones. I bought a Samsung, a couple of Apple phones, and for people who work for me and some for my family. And one of the things I don't like about my particular phone, the Asus, I like that it was simple. I like the screen is flat, great simple design, no frills, no fancy, can hold a lot of external storage. It's an inexpensive phone. I think I paid like what, $150 for it, $159 something. Whereas the Samsung I think is around $8 or $9, and then the iPhone is even more than that. You're looking at over $1,000. But for the iPhone X anyway. The Asus phone, I had some problems with it. People who, to be fair, I use the phone a lot. Any phone that I've ever had, I've had problems with, whether it's been a Samsung or an iPhone. I started off being an iPhone user, and I converted over after the iPhone 3. I had the iPhone 1, I think there was a 2, and I had the 3, and then I converted over to Android. But fairly quickly, the Asus phone started to crash on me. Had a lot of problems as far as that's concerned. It would freeze. When I say crash, I mean freezing. I've had to use a special command to actually get the phone to unfreeze, right? Because you can't take out the battery, unfortunately. So I had to go to like the BIOS and reboot it. I think I'm calling it right, the BIOS. Is that right? And I had to reboot the phone. So that was a little bit of a pain in the rear end. And does that to me at least once a week. The phone's probably still under warranty. I haven't replaced it yet. That's just me being lazy. But I'll get around to it. Now I have 3 other of these phones, and the Asus same model, and they don't seem to have the same problem that's been reported to me. However, I will tell you that, like I said before, I use the phone a lot. I'm typically on the phone most of the time, and it's the battery on any phone really typically only lasts about 4 to 6 hours because of all that I do on it. I use apps for business. I use all kinds of software that's on here that I connect to my home office or one of our cloud servers. And I'm always on the phone. So to be fair, I kill phones. Always have. Could be a frequency in me, a very strong frequency, or it could be something else. But the Asus phone does take pretty good pictures, takes really, really, really good videos in comparison to Samsung or anybody else. So, when you go to buy a phone, they'll tell you, oh, the Samsung takes much better pictures, or the iPhone, or this, that, whatever. Not entirely true. I'll get into that in a moment. If you want a good buy, spend $150 on a phone. You won't be disappointed. So a lot of the cheaper phones, I'm not taunting Asus and telling you to get an Asus. I'm telling you to get a $150 phone. Most of them are great. There's a lot of good phone companies out there. Blue, New, NUU. Samsung has some cheaper phones. I'm not a huge LG fan, although LG has some good phones. Motorola, a whole bunch of companies. The only one that doesn't have the cheaper phones is the Apple. And that's one of the downsides about Apple. Apple does not have inexpensive options if you're looking to get a new phone. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for the latest and greatest and you're a tech guy and you just love Samsung might be a really good option. Still less expensive than the iPhone. Now, as far as picture quality, because that's important to me, I do a lot of photography. I have, well over 10 cameras. I have a movie studio as we're in right now. Lighting equipment, microphones, all that. Some of the, doing, a photo shoot or a video interview, which I often do for a documentary that I have coming up in 2020. Camera is very important to me. Now, I'm going to compare all these 3. Okay, all these 3 off the shelf will do the trick. The LG, I am told, has, which I also own, LG G6. Piece of crap phone, straight up. And I've had several of them. Whenever I buy a phone and I test, I don't just take one because it's unfair. Maybe I have a defective. I buy several of them. So I spend a good amount of money on phones to do this testing. The LG G6 was a piece of junk phone. However, the camera is really good for both video and it's a decent, point and shoot camera. And that's an Android phone. So you won't be disappointed if you're not using it for a phone, right? You are using it for a phone, get rid of it quickly. Don't buy it. So it scares me from getting an LG product, just so you know. Okay, so let's talk about Samsung and the iPhone. So if you're looking for who has the best camera, this is where it gets a little tricky. And I've tested this on several different, I'm a geek. I've tested this over a period of a couple of years, and actually more than a couple of years, and on several different iPhones and several different Samsungs. What I've noticed consistently is the iPhone, let me rephrase that, the Samsung, when you buy it brand new, the Samsung's got better picture quality, better point and shoot, good video. You're going to love the Samsung, like hands down, which is an Android phone. This is where it gets a little tricky. After about a year, more or less, for me, I'm hard on phones, so it's a lot less than a year, something internally changes the way it takes pictures. Whether it's heat or whatever the reason, whether it's the back and when you put it down, I don't know. But the iPhone will have a much better picture come in a year or two. And it's a huge noticeable difference. Night and day. I've never seen a picture so different in my life from a camera. It's a phenomenal job, the iPhone, after about a year or two. You're not going to go wrong. You're going to love it, hands down. But up front, if you can keep that Samsung, it does have a good, when you first buy it, it is slightly better than the iPhone new. Okay, so as far as looks, eye of the beholder. The Samsung definitely looks a lot better. I don't think anybody can deny that. I don't care for looks. Does not matter to me whatsoever. iPhone looks prettier. Samsung comes in, I believe, a lot more color combinations, and it's got a beautiful, sexy look to it. Again, for me, I don't care. I'm about business and I'm about functionality. I don't care about the looks portion of it. I was just as fine with my Asus. In fact, I gave up my Samsung and kept the Asus for myself just because I don't like Bixby. Bixby is good for a lot of people. A lot of people that I've talked to and some of my testers that work for me, they have stated that Bixby is a must. They can't do without their Bixby. Well, I don't need Bixby. I got OK Google. I can say OK Google and it'll do everything I want it to do. Bixby does the same thing. It's got OK Google and it's got Bixby. Apple's got Siri. I don't think you need 10 of them. I think, they all pretty much do pretty much the same. You could tell it a joke and you can ask it to tell you a joke and it'll tell you a joke, and it does, they all pretty much do the same thing. You can change the voice and whatever. So I think they're all about equal there. I don't think one is better than the other necessarily. Now, if you happen to know one is better than the other, feel free to comment below, let me know, and I'll change this video, and and our viewers can actually read the post down below. Subscribe to this channel and post anything that you disagree with below. Let me know. Maybe maybe there's something I missed or I misspoke, and I certainly don't want to do that for your benefit. Replacing parts on the phones. I can tell you right now, replace parts on both phones, and they're both a pain in the butt. You need a heat gun or blow dryer and whatever, but definitely doable. Doesn't take forever. If you're tech savvy, it's a no-brainer. Otherwise, maybe have a professional do it. All right? But if you can do it yourself, more power to you. Okay, so we're going to go into, I've taken a lot of notes, and I was able to go over some of the differences and the options, and I hope I don't leave anything out, but if I do, hopefully I'll edit it later or I'll post comments below. All right, so we talked about the Samsung Android, or any Android for that matter. There's more color options usually. The Samsung, the latest and greatest Samsung versus the iPhone X. This Android, the Samsung has a bigger battery, and that's important to someone like me. However, it may not matter as much as you might think. So it depends on how the phone is configured, how it's built, and the software of how it utilizes its battery capacity. So there's some phones that don't use as much battery capacity. Like if you were to get the the older Samsung Note, it won't last as long because it's a much bigger screen, right? There's other reasons as well, and different type of screen. So keep in mind that although the latest and greatest Samsung is a bigger battery, that may not matter as much as you think it does. The Samsung Galaxy has 400 gigabytes of external storage capacity. That's important. It starts off with less internal than the iPhone, but you can't upgrade the iPhone. The iPhone comes in two different sizes, the largest being the 256. Cannot upgrade it. The Samsung starts a lot lower, but you can upgrade it up to 400, and I can't see why you would need more than 400 gigabytes unless you're me, who does a lot of work and a lot of storage, a lot of pictures, a lot of videos on it. And why is a lot of storage important? Because when you get to say 70% or 75% capacity, your phone starts to not function as well and starts to be slower, utilizes more battery. So the bigger space you have, the better, in my opinion. I like the fact that the Samsung Galaxy, you can put an external memory in it, external storage in it, whereas the iPhone you cannot. Why is that important? You can easily swap the information from one to another. You can take the data and put it into a different phone. You can put it into a computer. You can do a lot with it. If you run out of storage, you can easily pop it out and pop a new one in. So now you have 800, right? Utilize the 400, save it, put it in your pocket, pop in another one. You're good to go, right? So that is really important. So basically, that says that the 400 external capacity is really limitless. You can basically unlimited storage by just swapping that out. You can keep 256 cards in there and swap it out as you see fit. So I think that's very important. And just make sure you remember to tell your phone, because you have to give it instructions when taking a picture, video, or whatever, to tell it where to store its data. Once you set it, it's kind of like set it and forget it. You don't have to do it again. You set it to store external data, and it will stay just that. It'll keep on saving it to external data. Not for everything, for whatever you set it to. So, for example, for video, if I have it on certain settings and I want to set it to external data, it's going to stay that way. So it's going to serve it to the external storage. But let's say my contacts, that'll still store internal until I tell it to do external. But once I tell it, from this point forward, it'll store to external. And you can always change those options later on for anything, whether it be music or any other kind of storage. So iPhone has got cloud backup. Google's got cloud backup for the Android phone, for your pictures, and it's pretty much unlimited unless you want to save it and store it for a higher quality or larger or original file. And if you do that and you fill your capacity, I think it's like what, 15 gigabytes or something like that, it's not the end of the world, because Google's really cheap. Or really inexpensive. I've increased my data, I think, for $1.15, right, to like 100 gigabytes, I think. I don't remember, per month. But it's a lot cheaper than other companies that do cloud storage. Does it store everything? No. From what I understand, it does videos and pictures, and of course, you can store your documents and emails, things like that. But I don't think it stores your music, not to my knowledge. But there is music apps that are able to do that, Google Music, things like that, to where you're able to do things like that. But that I haven't explored too much, so I can't comment on that. But feel free to comment below. Some of you probably know a lot more than I do. Even though I'm a music fanatic, I'm a music nut, I did not use that feature. Okay. I have found that the iPhone was a pain in the butt if you're trying to like get music that wasn't Apple certified and putting it on there. And I remember losing a lot of songs because I put them on a phone and then my iPhone died, and where I wanted to switch iPhones, and I couldn't take that music to. I can only take the ones that I bought from iTunes to a different device. It was a pain in the butt. I couldn't stand it. I was very frustrated. I switched from Apple to Android, and I never looked back. But there's many reasons to buy an Apple phone, and I'll get into that in a moment. So, I use the browser a lot. A lot of the CRM and the different CRMs and the software that I use in the databases, they're cloud-based, and so I use browsers a lot, right? So I go into Chrome on my phone, and I like desktop view. I've not been able to do this with ease, desktop view on an iPhone. And why is that important? A lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of websites, and most websites, their mobile version of the website, which appears when you log on to the website via the browser, it'll recognize you're using a mobile phone or a tablet, and it'll automatically switch. What it'll open up is not the real website; it's the mobile version. The mobile version is almost always limited, sometimes very different, and it's limited in its functionality. Well, I don't like that, so I love the desktop version. So I can just really quickly hit a button in my browser and say open in desktop version, and for the most part, it almost always works. So that's a big win for Android as a whole versus Apple. Now, if you guys have had different experiences or know other ways of doing it, please let our viewers know below. Don't talk down to me or make fun of me that I did not know how to do it. I apologize. I did my research. My research isn't perfect, but I tried to bring it the best that I could for you, okay? No haters here, please. No haters. More free apps that I've noticed on the Android phone. Definitely a lot more free apps, which are important to me because I'm a cheap guy and I don't like to spend a lot of money on apps that I may or may not use. I mean, I like to test them. Do I like it? You know, so I like the free on here. One of the problems that I noticed about Android products is, really nothing is really free, is it? Because with free apps come with what? Unsolicited ads. And so you get a lot more ads. And those ads are almost like malware or malware, however you pronounce it. They're almost like viruses that they put on your phone. Not to be ill will, and it's not to be malicious, but it's to make money, right? They either sell your information or they want to put ads on there, so hopefully you click on something and then buy whatever product that they're getting paid to display on your phone. Well, that can be annoying to some, and if you don't like that, Apple does a lot better job with their iPhone of preventing that from happening, and that's why a lot of the stuff is not free, and they govern it a lot better. Something else that's kind of cool, if you're into a video game, and I forgot what it's called. It's my son plays it all the time. He's trying to get me into it. My other son plays it. It's a free game called Battle Royale, right? Battle Royale, if you're into Battle Royale, this is where the Apple phone is the clear winner, because Battle Royale, you can play someone on a computer, at the same time playing someone else on the Xbox, at the same time playing someone on the iPhone. Granted, the experience is not as good on the phone, but nonetheless, you can play in the same match, which is, to me, unheard of, right? So my one son who plays on this computer, my other son who plays on the Xbox, we have 4 Xboxes, but my one son likes his gaming computer, my other son likes the Xbox, version, and he connects an Xbox controller to his laptop, and you can actually play and have your headset as if you were playing on the Xbox right from your laptop. Whether you want to hook it to the big screen, you can, or you just want to watch the screen on your laptop. That is really cool, by the way. And I can be on my phone if I wanted to, or my son's phone in this case, because he has the iPhone, and I can play with him if I want to. I thought that was really cool, really neat. So it's a huge win for the iPhone. And why is it for the iPhone and not for other products? Because from what I understand, iPhone, it's a lot simpler to make a code for an iPhone, because with Android, you have to make several different versions that will work, on different, it's almost like Android, there's several different operating systems. Well, although they look the same, different things will work on one where they won't work for the other. What's ice cream cone, cookie, there's all different kinds of whatever, Oreo. So just keep that in mind. A lot of software, and I use a lot of different software. Audio, I'm into like high-end audio equipment in my home, and different software, tracking software that we use in our company. A company for signed agreements. When a customer's signing an agreement, they prefer to use iPhone. Yes, Android works with a lot of it, but typically when a software first comes out for that, they usually have it work flawlessly on an iPhone before an Android, and I'm assuming it's for the same reason, that it's easier to code for the iPhone, and it's less issues than it would be on the Android. So that's kind of important. Another thing that really frustrates me as an Android user is that I have 16 vehicles. Some of my vehicles are new, and they always seem to work better on the Apple iPhone or Apple products. Even though I have my Bluetooth on my say my truck, right? I bought a new truck, and I made it number one, is the number one option, right? So it's like the default to look for my phone. Well, as soon as my son gets in the truck, even though it's not defaulted to him, it'll kick me out and automatically want the iPhone to work, and his works flawlessly. For a while, I think it's fixed now, but the Chrysler 300 or my Ford pickup, it would 30% of the time it would kick my Bluetooth off as if it can't find it, and that was very frustrating. I thought it was the phone. I swapped out to a couple different phones. I used different phones. I took it to the Ford dealership. Ford blamed AT&T. AT&T blamed Ford. Went back and forth. Finally got it to work. I haven't had a problem in a few months after resetting my truck, resetting the computer several times. Or it could be a different phone. I'm not really sure. But most vehicles that I've seen, I've never seen a vehicle that didn't favor the iPhone first. So even some of the plugs in some of the older cars had iPhone plugs where you can just plug in your iPhone, where if you had an Android, you had to plug it in through, 3.5 millimeter cable or whatever. It didn't, there was no sync. If you go to a lot of hotels, it's got charging ports for your iPhone where it didn't have for the Android. Well, hope that changes, because iPhone made it very difficult. iPhone changed their port. How annoying. So everybody who created all these gadgets for the older iPhone now has to change it for the newer one. And I hope they learn their lesson and stop doing that. I'll tell you why. iPhone doesn't even have a headphone jack. That's ridiculous. Every Android I've ever seen does. If I want to listen to music on my nice DJ headset, I don't want a Bluetooth, although I have Bluetooth headsets. I want to listen to it on my other headphones. I can't with an iPhone. I can with an Android. Now, let's say I'm out and about and I often forget something, and maybe I'm not in a vehicle that has Bluetooth. I have some old collector's muscle cars, and oh man, I don't, I get kind of nauseous and seasick motion sickness if I'm have my head up, my phone up to my ear. Plus, some of these states are making it illegal, at least California anyway, to have your phone up to your ear. I'd love to be able to stop by a store and buy, a $1 headset or $5 or $10 headset, and hook it up to my phone. I can't do that with an iPhone without an adapter. That is annoying. You have to remember to take your adapter with you. Forget about it. I just want to be able to plug it up, no problem, no adapter, right? So, huge win for the Android, thumbs down for the iPhone. Let's talk about, so let's talk about the heart rate monitor. For you runners out there, if you want to check your heart rate, you're running along, chugging. How do you check your heart rate? You have to go like this with two hands. Not cool. Not at all, right? You don't want to do that, right? Or you have to, somehow figure it or whatever. So don't want to have to mess with that. That's annoying. Android, let's talk specifically about the latest and greatest. Let's talk about the Samsung. You put your finger on the back, you're running with one hand, and it's telling you, right? Your Samsung Health is telling you, ooh, that's your heart rate as you're running, because that's when you want to know, not necessarily when you stop. So that's good too, right? But as you're running, you can know what your heart rate is by just having your finger right there. So I think that's kind of cool, right? And Samsung Health is a really neat app that I like very much. I will say that. I miss it, not having a Samsung phone anymore. So the Android typically is better for music sharing. I find that the Android, if you're sharing music, there's a lot more free music out there on the Android side than there is in the iPhone. So an iPhone, Apple, makes you put everything through iTunes. Kind of a pain in the butt. I can put music on any folder, anywhere I want, however I want to store it on my Android. Pain in the butt. If you're a tech savvy guy, I can't see why you would own an iPhone. Let's see. We talked about less expensive, right? This phone is a lot less expensive than this phone. You can start off with being $150 or even $50. I think they start off with a $50 phone, right? To this one being what, 9 and change. This one over 1,000. No way. So you have more options and more choices with the Android. You do not with this phone. Music is typically a lot less expensive on your Android than it is on the iPhone. Sound quality. So I've done sound tests, sound metering tests. I'm big into quality of sound. I've also done the old simple put one phone up to one ear and one phone up to the other. I've just switched it, done it with different Android. Same thing. For some reason, it's been like this forever with iPhone. iPhone, even from the beginning, a lot of people thought the music quality was going to be good. Let me tell you, it's not. If you think it is, think again. The Android quality is a lot richer. The iPhone, whether you're listening to the music like this or putting headphones in, the iPhone sounds tinny. It sounds like it's using a metal speaker. There's a distinct difference, and it's annoying. I don't want to listen to my music like that. If I was an artist, and I am a musician, I am an artist, sound engineer, I don't like the sound of the iPhone. I know a lot of musicians love iPhones. Why? The sound is crap. It does not play your music right. This does. So there's a huge sound quality difference, both in the external speaker and internally. So I thought that was important. Sounds like I'm bashing Apple. Don't worry, I'm going to get into the good stuff about Apple in just a moment. Okay, so be patient with me. I'm just going down a list here. Chargers. If you're looking to buy a charger, and so often chargers break, or you lose one, or you left one somewhere, it's happened to you. I know it's happened to me many times. I know I can buy a charger for this for as little as $1 somewhere, but at every gas station they got a charger for this. Typically the chargers for iPhone are a lot more expensive, and if it's not an Apple brand charger, they don't always work. The Apple won't recognize it. It's a pain in the butt. I've bought aftermarket parts for iPhone chargers, and a lot of times it doesn't charge right. It won't charge. It'll charge slower, or it'll say it'll have the lightning symbol and say not compatible. And they're more expensive. Android, hands down, it's got your speed charge, your non-speed charge. It's a lot more versatile, and it's a lot more compatible with other products that aren't even Android products. You can find a charger for this almost anywhere. Heck, I've got a bunch of flying drones that use the same charger as this thing. So, I mean, it's very versatile. I definitely recommend it. Heck, you can charge this on your computer. Can you do that with this? Maybe with some sort of special computer. I don't know. This, I can charge it from any computer. Laptop, desktop, you name it. I can't say you can from an Apple, but you might be able to. I haven't tried on an Apple computer. That I haven't done. Better picture options. So they're both unique in their own ways. They both have cool, different picture options that you can do. Samsung definitely wins when it comes to picture options. They both have panoramic, but Samsung, if you've ever seen anybody do it, it's really cool. You can actually do a total 360 picture. So you press a button and it'll guide you to make sure you're keeping it straight, and you can basically turn around in a circle and it'll do this whole 360 right back, and it's a really cool. On one picture you can see, we did this cool experiment where I stood in one place, right? And I was standing like this, right? And then someone was using the panoramic feature. It went like this, and then I ran around, and I was in a picture again, and I did another pose like this, and then they kept on moving, and I ran around, and I was in another picture like this, just whatever, goofing off. and I was in the picture I think 3 or 4 different times, and it was really cool in one picture. So it was really cool. It's got some other features that aren't in all Android phones, but really cool, like 3D, where like you can move it, and then when you actually go to look at the picture, it's got this 3D function. It's really cool. Like if I was explaining it, it doesn't do it justice. I noticed not all phones have it, so I can't say it's an all Android thing. It's got some other picture like emoji options that similar if you're using that Snapchat or whatever. I've never been on Snapchat, but people do the bunny ears and the tongue and all that. This phone's got the same functionality, same things, without having you do anything else with it. The Apple's got a cool feature where it has a signature. You can sign something and then you can store that signature. So whether it be on pictures or something else, you can always, you write your signature, you save it, it'll save it always, and then you can use it multiple times. Just click it, drag your signature, wherever. So I think that's kind of cool. I like that feature, especially because I sign a lot of documents. That's where this phone comes in really, really handy. Definitely like this. This phone also has a better option for I think screen sharing or screen recording, or record the screen of whatever's going on. In my opinion, better than this one. This one, I think you have to do an external app, but I'm not sure. I don't remember, but I know this one does it built in, really simple. It's got iMovie, which is really cool. I really am a big fan of iMovie. Sometimes I'll ask my son, "Hey, son, can you make me a trailer for this?" Or he'll make me a trailer real quickly and then send it to me. Unfortunately, I have to convert it a lot because it saves it in a different format that's really not compatible with a whole heck of a lot of things, which is annoying. But it's I like it a lot for iMovie. I think iMovie is really, really neat. Now I use more sophisticated software, so I don't really use iMovie, but I love that it's on here. I love that you can do it. You can do it on the go. I just think it's great, especially for amateurs. And I'm an amateur too, so. All right, so let's go down to, a lot more customizable operating systems. So they both can do some things like change slightly the size of the icons and change the bold and how big the icon is. But with the Android, you can change the spacing of it. It stores it in 2 different locations. So it stores it on the main screen like here if you want it to, but you can also hide it and you can store it in the main functionality. You press a button, it takes this whole other section, and you can change how they're stored. So you can store them alphabetical, date they've been downloaded, all different, customizable, where you pick how you want to group your stuff. This can do that on the main screen. This can do that on the main screen and the main library. So let's say on the main screen, I don't want all that stuff on there. This, you're forced to have it on there. I can have all my apps on my library and then put what I want, how I want on my main screen, so it's not cluttered. Plus, when I'm moving from screen to screen, it's really cool. It's got a lot of different functionality. If you ever know what Ubuntu is, which I love the operating system, it's got some of those cool features that Ubuntu has. It's just really, really cool. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of the options that the operating system can do over the Apple. Android seems to just win quite a bit on that one. It's not the end of the world. Those things are not the end of the world. That shouldn't deter you from buying an Apple phone. It's just a cool factor, right, for if you're a geek like me. But again, if you're lazy tech like me, meaning you just want something to work and it does a great job of doing what it's supposed to do, the iPhone. Sometimes they both can be a pain in the butt as being an actual phone than others. Cool thing about this Android is if you don't like your phone set up, you don't like your contacts set up, you can change it for a different one, and a lot of them are free. So it's a little more customizable. Let's see. Both are water resistant. There goes the phone going off. Both phones are water resistant. But Samsung will last a little bit longer underwater. Not that you should put your phone underwater. I've done that before with other phones, and let me tell you, yes, it was cool. I was at a bar. Hey, let me dunk it in some beer. Yes, it worked after. It worked bad. You didn't notice it right away, but the speakers, sound quality, and just different things didn't work as well. Nothing's truly waterproof. Don't think it is for a minute, and it's certainly not worth dropping $1,000 or more phone into a cup of water or into any water to test how cool it is. Don't do it. They're not waterproof. They're barely water resistant, I promise you. Both of them will not last that long underwater. However, on several tests, the Samsung will last longer. That was an expensive test. If you accidentally fall into a lake, as my son did with his iPhone, and it did have a back cracked screen on the back, the glass was cracked. Fortunately for him, because I paid for this phone, it still works. He fell into a lake doing tug of war or something like that, and camp, and it still works. But so again, it's just, if an accident happens, you fall in the water, take your phone out of water as best you can, dry it off, stick it in a tub of rice, seal it, and just to be on the safe side. We talked about the Android being typically less expensive. We talked about the facial emojis. This is a really cool feature I love about the Android. I can't speak about all Androids, and this doesn't work with all televisions. I have a Samsung 65-inch television, and for my television, I can take my Android. I tried it on actually my Asus phone. It worked great. My ones, you can play a video game. My one son was playing a video game on the Android, slung it to my television, and we're watching on a big screen 65-inch television. It's got a really cool feature, and they really easy sync up. They identify each other, and I think it works through Bluetooth, I believe. Or is it Wi-Fi? I'm not sure, but they work really, really well, and I was very, very impressed. The reason I like it is for presentations. The picture quality is phenomenal, by the way. You know, you think it's only designed for such a small game. No, picture quality is great. I do a lot of presentations, and the cool thing is, guess what? All I need to do is bring a TV. I don't need a projector and a screen. I bring a TV, boom, I can sling it right to here, and I'm good to go. Love that feature. Whether it be a document or whatever I have on my screen. Just anything, I can sling it. If I'm doing a Zoom conference, I do a lot of conferences, video conferences, I can put it right up on my screen. It's really, really cool. I recommend it. I don't have, it's for a cableless connection. From what I understand, the Apple cannot, unless you have like Apple TV or something. Okay, so sounds like I've just really bashed Apple. Well, I didn't. Apple has a lot of great features, and I'm going to get into a lot of them, okay? And if I miss anything, please, by all means, let me know with your comments below. Don't hate on me. Please don't bring out your negative side. Humanity doesn't need any more negative people in this world. Stop. All right, so I'm big on tech support. Yes, all the major carriers have fairly decent tech support. Sprint, maybe not so much. I know they charge for tech support at one point for like just calling them up, right? Ridiculous. I don't think they do that anymore. But Apple, if I have a problem, I can call the manufacturer. I'm sorry, let me take that back. I can call the phone company. They do offer support. It's annoying that they'll say, hey, call Apple. But the great thing is when you do call Apple, you get phenomenal support. Apple can do a lot for you. So I do like that about Apple. It's got really good customer service. I'm not saying other companies don't. I was just very impressed with the Apple customer service, slightly better. Shouldn't deter you from buying an Android. Just letting you know, for the people who aren't so tech savvy, Apple might be your phone to go. No back button. Huge slam on Apple. Oh my goodness. For those that love a back button, and I'm one of those people, that was actually, if I may be honest, that was my real deciding factor when I got away from Apple. I think it was the Apple III, and it had no back button. I was like, oh my goodness, why wouldn't you have a back button? Why can't I go back? You have to like go out of everything, go to the main screen, and then I forget about it. It's got a back button on certain things if it's built in the app, but it doesn't have a back button. And Android, and I'll show you this, in Android you can actually hit back and you can go back. I like that. I miss, a lot of phones are building the back button in the screen. It doesn't have an actual button, so if you have a screen problem, you actually don't have that button functionality. It's there, but it's like this smooth screen. It's not a separate button. I love the separate button. Call me old school, but I think functionality-wise, so much better. Nothing to do with old school. It's about functionality. A separate button works better. There is reasons why that is. Like I said, sometimes your screen will freeze. You want that back button that can back you out of it. Android phones have it, but like I said, they're getting away from the physical button to where it's just a touch. I like the physical button better. iPhone, no back button. Annoying. Takes away from some of its functionality, and it makes doing certain functions takes you a lot longer to do them. So shame on you, Apple. When are you going to get a back button? You're killing me with this. Is it like ego or pride? Let's see. Apple, good thing about Apple, we talked about less ads. It's got less ads on the Apple phone, and I think Apple does a really good job of regulating that. However they do that, I do not know, but consistently there's less unsolicited ads, which leads to less malware and viruses and stuff on your phone. Apple wins hands down. I've killed all of them though. With as much as I use these phones, I've killed all of them. Let's see. Let's talk about. We talked about the vehicles. We talked about the sound quality. We talked about how a lot of systems, whether it be AV equipment, automation equipment in your home, they just seem to prefer Apple. Not to say Android won't work on, but most things, everything's Apple ready. I haven't seen very much things that are only Android ready. I mean, I can't think of any that come to mind. I wish there was, but that could be just a hater in me. No hating. All right, so business apps. Apple wins with business apps. Apple's got a better compass. I mean, you have to pay and download these compasses that come with ads, and you have to pay more money for a compass that it comes barely close to this compass. This compass does a lot more. I think it also has an altimeter in it. Like, that's kind of awesome. So the compass, and I use compasses. I do field work. My techs do field work. There's many reasons. I go hiking, but a lot of you don't realize compass does come in handy when you're looking for an azimuth orientation. What that means is the number on the compass. You want to know. I want to know where the Bithlow Towers are in Florida, so I can point, an antenna in that direction or whatever. I do like the compass much better. So there's that. But it's not going to make me buy this. I'll just spend money for the app and get the pro version or whatever and buy this without the ads. This is what I'll end up doing, right? If it was that important to me. But it might be important to you. I haven't bought it yet. I'm a dealer. I sell Sling Studio. Okay, guys, if you're looking to buy Sling Studio, you can buy it from me. I love it. I'll give you a lot of free stuff that other people won't do if you buy Sling Studio from me. Brand new. I'm a dealer. My company is, one of my companies is anyway, and so I don't know if it's price fixed, so I don't know if I'm allowed to give you a reduced price, but I don't think there's any rules that say I can't give you something for it, like Bahamas tickets if you buy Sling Studio for me, or free this, you name it, I'll give it to you, right? I'm big on gray area. I'll bend the rules, as long as I'm not breaking the rules, because I get in trouble a lot for doing that. But I will, if you want, I don't know. I'll give you a free phone or free. I don't know. You name it. Call me up. I'll give you something free if you buy Sling Studio from me. I love Sling Studio. I haven't touched it yet. I'm about to. I'm gonna do a class on it, and I'm gonna do my review of it. But so far, from what I've seen, I've watched other people's reviews, and I've watched the commercial for it. I do like it. I want to buy it. And I want to use it to actually do this. I want to use it to cut down on my editing time. So the only problem is you need someone behind the scenes to do that. Sometimes I don't have somebody behind the scenes. But like I said, I haven't touched it yet. There's I haven't seen any really good review on it. No one's really dug into it deep. That's convinced me to say, hey, it's that great. I believe it will be, but that's because I'm an optimist. Or at least I like to think that I am. But so I'll give you a good review. I'll give you a really good non-biased review when I get it, which should be any day now. But Apple, it's another company that seems to favor Apple. They'd rather you have Apple phones and Apple devices, as opposed to they say it works on some Androids. I don't know. I haven't tested it yet. I'll let you know what Android devices it works on and which ones it doesn't. And I'll make that determination. And I'll play around with this stuff. I'll let you guys know. But so far, from what they tell me at Sling, that it works. You're safer to have Apple products. So it's a win for Apple, especially if you like Sling Studio. A lot of people don't know what Sling Studio is, so that part you don't have to really worry about. All right, so let's go on to we talked about Fortnite, which is that video game, which is really, really cool. Uh, we talked about iMovie. Screen record with mic option. I think that's pretty cool. So you can screen record and you can do like a mic narration. You can record yourself doing narration. I think that's really, really awesome. Apple wins on that one. This, I believe, external apps will allow you to do it. I've done it on an Android phone, but I've had to download an app, I believe. So that's as far as my notes are concerned. There were some other features. My son and I were battling because he's an iPhone fan and I'm an Android fan. He's never going to give up his Android. I think I've won time and time again with my Android as far as like saying Android is better. But again, it depends on your needs. Depends on what you're using it for. If you are a simple person and you want a really good phone that's easy to use, and I would definitely use the iPhone. The iPhone X has some cool features that other phones don't. In my opinion, has a really cool feature that has a to where like if you want all black background and you just like want like the light shine on your head, it has it built in the iPhone. Something about it has it built in where you can do it. I think that's a really
Even though you can do this with trick photography, the iPhone can do it a lot easier, and I think it's amazing.
Android might be able to do it with a specific app. I just haven't learned or inquired on how to do that, or have looked for an app, or don't even know what it's called to do that. I know you can do that with lighting, and I have lighting equipment that will do that, and I'm going to do that with my lighting. I just think Apple's cool that it has that feature. I didn't want to forget to tell you something, right? I didn't want to forget to tell you about the iPhone X A1865. I had to write that down because I couldn't remember it. That's Alpha 1865, and it is a global phone. I believe there's three different phones, right? That the iPhone X has. There's the one that only works for AT&T. Then there's like a Japan version, and then there's the world phone that works both GSM and CDMA. And let me tell you, that's the phone I would buy. And I don't think you can get it from the AT&T store, but I believe you might be able to get it from the Verizon store or buy it on your own unlocked, right? It's a global phone, and that's the phone I would get if you were to get an iPhone X. That way, if you ever do switch services, you can take your phone with you to your new service. You don't have to buy a whole new phone service, right? So that's important. iPhones years ago, I think there was only like 2 iPhones a couple years ago that had that capability. Then they went away from the global phone, and now I believe they brought it back in this model. If I am wrong, please let me know with your comments below, but I believe that model, I haven't put my hands on that model yet, but I believe that's the only model that is a global phone that allows you to do both GSM and CDMA. So I think I've gone through a lot. I'm sure I've missed quite a bit, and I apologize, guys, guys and gals, that for whatever I have missed. But I think if you're a business person, Android. But it depends on what you're doing. There's certain business things where I'll tell you to use the iPhone over the Android. So it's completely up to you. But I think I've given you, 2 different options, and make your decision. They're both close in price as far as if you're doing top of the line. I wouldn't let that sway you. A couple $100 to me, if you're spending around $1,000, is not necessarily a deal breaker for me, but it might be for you. But if you want the best bang for your buck, Android, go with the cheaper phone, not the Samsung. Does it lack some of the features that the Samsung has? Yes, but so what, right? So do what's in your best interest, do what's in your pocket's best interest. Don't waste money, and don't let those big companies win by overloading your phones to force you to buy the next biggest, greatest thing. That's annoying. I can't stand when they do that. A lot of companies are doing that. They do that with television technology. And we'll talk about that another time when you talk about LCD, plasma, LED, OLED, all that stuff. I'll talk about that on another show. Don't don't believe the hype and don't fall into the big companies' pockets because they want you to spend more money. Yes, it helps the economy, but it hurts you as the consumer by keep on spending thousands and thousands of dollars on products you don't need. There's one thing that I could make a request to all the big manufacturers out there. Listen, I know it's in your best interest to not make a battery that you can take out. Please, 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 me as a consumer, and I speak for many, please come out with a phone, again, that you can take out the battery and replace the battery. I think that's important. Apple, make it so you can add storage to it. You want to be able to add a card, right? Storage card. I think that's important. And I think that's important to many. Waterproof or water resistance is good, and that is great, but taking out the battery is important. And please don't be shisty and shady and jam these phones up to make them buy a new one. Please, please don't. Unless you're giving it at a really reduced price, maybe you're giving a discount if you upgrade to the next phone, and you let's say you've had the Galaxy 8 and you're upgrading to the Galaxy 9, you get a discount. I don't know. These are just food for thought, but stop ripping off the consumer, because I can speak for myself when I say I don't like it anymore. Hey guys, I hope I gave you good and somewhat non-biased. I know obviously you know I'm an Android fan, but believe it or not, I'm also an iPhone fan. It just depends on the application. And the next phone I get, believe it or not, is probably, and a lot of people are going to be wowed by this, but I'm probably going to buy an iPhone X next. But I'll probably have two phones. I'll have an iPhone X and that's on each hip. And I'll do that. The two different services. Hey, stay tuned for other reviews I have, such as what phone service is best for you. I'll tell you, I've got a lot to say about that. So please stay tuned and watch that review. Hey, my name is Jerome Robinson with the Robinson Group. Thank you for watching. Please leave the comments below, and please, 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 please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My videos will get better and better in less amateur like, I promise you. Keep in mind that I'm not sponsored by any company. I don't need their money. I have enough money on my own. But I do this for a specific reason. Yes, I do it for selfish reasons. I'm giving you a free service and a good service because I do want to promote in the future my upcoming documentary coming January 2020. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate you for watching. Peace out. Thank you and goodbye. How'd I do? All right. Good. I want to do where I have black black. We'll save that for the outtake, right? Woo! Well, let's redo that again. Can we redo that again? Thanks. All right. The Apple iPhone does a great job on the back round. If you want a black, let's redo that again. Can we? Oh, bad. Sorry. Okay, you got me? Cool. All right, so again, Apple, break. All right, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga. Hey, you guys want to see what I'm wearing? What, shorts? Woohoo! Show off the shorts. I'm not picking up my nards or anything. All right, this is my sexy belly. All right. Hey, can everybody see me now? All right. Hey, how you doing? You can't see the cord or the boom mic here or the lighting. Think we're good here? Can we say cut? All right, we're gonna cut it. All right, guys. Okay, we're out of here.